Yeah, so let's work our way through these then. We'll start off at the top. Obviously, Terence Crawford, probably the biggest, one of the biggest names around at the moment in world boxing. You expecting him to win this? Is stepping up a weight by the looks of it? Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, he is stepping up. And hey, folks, do not sleep on Israel Madrimov. He's a very, very solid boxer with some good experience, both on the amateur side and, of course, his trajectory here in the pro ranks. He's had some decent wins that are under his belt. You see, he has Michael Soro there. Michael Soro, solid fighter out of France there. And Israel Madrimov has a win over him in a draw. But that being said, Madrimov, he's one of those guys. He has pretty solid footwork. Of course, he can mix it up punch-wise, some decent power or pop to him as well, just from an overall standpoint. So he is not one to be slept on. But, of course, we know that Terence Crawford certainly is one of the top 2 or 3 fighters in the world at the moment. And by many people's estimation, the top guy indeed. And I'm sure that he's approaching this with the utmost intensity and respect to the game in itself. So I'm sure with the fact that he is moving up here, he is going about it the right way in terms of getting to that 154 pounds. So this should be a very, very solid contest. And I know that, as Boz mentioned there, to make an upset or perhaps make Bud work harder, yeah, that's certainly the thinking of some others as well. 36-year-old Crawford going up against a young gun who realistically should be in his prime. So it won't be just a cakewalk for Terence Crawford. He's going to have to work to get this victory as far as I'm concerned. Now, I do lean slightly in favor of Terence Crawford to pick up a decision over Madrimov. And I think that will come down just to his overall skill set, intensity, and Madrimov. He is top tier, I believe, as stated, but he has in the past found himself where he was essentially, you could say, kind of maybe not going at it in the way that he probably should with that level of intensity he probably should. And I think that is kind of what showed in the Michael Soro fight. But that being said, I think this is a very good contest. And I do lean Terence Crawford to pick up a decision, but the fans should get a very good contest, very good main event for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd go along with picking Terence Crawford as well. I think he will get the win, probably a points victory, fairly handily, I guess. But yeah, it'd be quite interesting to see what he does, like kind of going forward for Crawford. Yeah. Obviously, I don't want to overlook this one, but new weight class. I was just going to have a quick look actually. I know the ratings aren't all that great, but we just get an idea of who's in.
Yeah, we know the man at one point was Jamel Crawford. It looks like that's done and over with. So, or Jamel Charlo rather. So that's done and over with. So it's pretty much wide open right there as far as those who can make their run. I think many probably still regard Tim Tszyu as the guy as well. Sebastian Fundora's there, and he's going to eventually be fighting Errol Spence, though that fight was postponed. That Virgil Ortiz operating at 154 now. He would make for a very good and interesting fight with anyone, just given his ability to get opponents out of there. So this is wide open right now, but yeah, Ortiz and Boychuk are going to be going at it. So that should be a good contest that's going to come eventually down the road as well.
All right, cool. Yeah, there's plenty of decent names up there, isn't there? I guess Crawford to work his way through. Should he be victorious on the 3rd, on that Saturday? Let's continue moving down this card. David Morrell's on there, undefeated 10-0 against someone whose names I'm not going to try and pronounce.
Certainly, I can get the last one. Kalajdzic is certainly the last name, and he's a nice, long, lean fighter. I don't know how it compares to Morrell, who is a big guy as well, but But yeah, Kalajdzic, man, solid guy. He's worthy of this matchup in terms of the potential and opportunity. As you can see, he did stop Sullivan Barrera, though. Of course, this is a back end Sullivan Barrera. I believe that was Pro Box, as a matter of fact. But he's got some good names on the resume there. Some guys who have done some things in the sport at different times. You see, he's been in there with Arthur Beterbiev, Marcus Brown, those two boxers. But
they're two top tier guys, aren't they? So that's not
right. So Kalajdzic, hey, he's been around the block. So certainly, it's not just a walkover type of opponent there for Morrell. And Morrell is moving up to 175. That being said, Morrell, man, he's looked so good in all of the opportunities he's had previously that you have the feeling that adding these extra pounds here at 175, that's not going to be too far of a stretch for him because he's so fundamentally sound that I still think that he's the guy that you're definitely just going to have to watch regardless. So I would certainly favor Morrell in this contest, despite moving up, taking on the likes of a Kalajdzic. That being said, David Morrell, man, he just seems to have the goods. When you think about those total package type fighters, he has seemingly the makings of everything you need. We just need to see him in there with the competition to bring all of that out.
Yep. All right, great. Let's keep moving along. Isaac Cruz also in action. Pitbull. Great.
Pitbull Cruz, little mini Mike Tyson there. So WBA's World Super Lightweight Championship on the line. Of course, Jose Valenzuela, he knows how to put guys to sleep as well. He did so to Chris Colbert here recently. So, hey, he's one to watch right here. This is actually a pretty solid fight, and some would argue it could go either way realistically. The length is going to be on the side of Valenzuela, but, dealing with a taller fighter is something that, of course, Pitbull Cruz is used to. And this is a very interesting fight. It has the makings of a pretty exciting contest. This card is pretty stacked and crazy. This could be the most exciting one on the card, realistically. You never know. But yeah, just an interesting one. A hard one to call, realistically. I think conventional wisdom or fanfare is going to be on the side of Isaac Cruz, just given where he's been thus far, or the trajectory he's been on. And I think that the odds will probably lean in the favor of Cruz as well. But I say Valenzuela, very, very, very live underdog in this contest. And you never know. He could catch Cruz with something. And that's going to be the interesting thing for the duration of the contest. I'm going to lean Isaac Cruz. And I don't know if this fight goes the distance.
Yeah. We'll see. No, I don't think it will either, to be honest. And I think Cruz will probably win by stoppage. Maybe like mid to later rounds. But yeah, definitely one that's exciting. I'm just looking down this card now. Jesus, it is absolutely stacked. I've just realised there's massive heavyweight fights down here at the bottom, which we'll come on to in a second. Andy Cruz is in action, just his fourth fight, so I guess that's going to be a bit of a showcase for him. Against looks like
Antonio Moran, solid opponent. I've seen him fight live. He got knocked out by Devin Haney here in DC, as a matter of fact, and he has bounced back since then. Of course, he's been in with some very good opponents. Showbox or ProBox TV, they did a little tournament that Antonio Moran won here like a year or so ago. So very solid veteran opponent here who is going to certainly give Andy Cruz work. Andy Cruz, just based on kind of the expectations and trajectory for him, I do expect Andy Cruz to get the victory, but Moran will certainly make him work.
Okay. We'll keep going. We'll go on to Jared Anderson, Martin Bakole. This is quite very, very interesting.
Could be considered a toss-up right here.
Could be. I'm assuming that Anderson will probably be a favourite, but I mean, Bakole's no slouch, is he? Well, I mean, he came in massive last time, but it's not a slouch in terms of boxing.
Yeah, not at all. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Jared Anderson. He was talking about taking on the best in step and get up, essentially, well, this is an opportunity here for sure. If he can look good against Martin Bakole and say dispatch of him in some fashion that really stands out, then that would speak volumes for Jared Anderson, who is being touted as the next big thing as far as the American heavyweight scene is concerned. Now, yeah, I think it's going to be easier said than done. Of course, this is no doubt the biggest matchup, I guess you could say, for Jared Anderson, despite Charles Martin being a former world champion. And, many people, kind of got on to Anderson for how he looked in that fight with Martin. So I think that Bakole is going to be a step up from there. And we'll see right here. I'm leaning Anderson, but I know there are others who are leaning on the side of Bakole, and hey, can't be mad at him for such, because Bakole is just a massive guy who can box or mix it up in there to be dealing with. So step up for Anderson, and we'll see how he handles it. If he's expected to be that next guy, then he's going to need this victory.
Yeah. That's a very interesting matchup, and obviously it's going to give us a good read on where Anderson is and how good he might potentially be. So yeah, very, very interesting matchup. Is this one, from one big baby to another.
Right.
And Andy Ruiz against Jarrell Miller. And both of these don't have an actual number of rounds on there. I'm guessing they're probably going to be 10 rounders.
Probably. Very random fight there. I remember when this popped up, thought, how random right there. Andy Ruiz pretty much became world champion and then just let every bit of momentum he had pretty much die off there after that second loss to Anthony Joshua. And it's been like, where the heck have you been there, Andy Ruiz? As we can see, he's barely fought here over the last 5 years.
That is insane. I didn't realize that, actually. I didn't realize it was, first of all, like 5 years since he beat Joshua in that.
Talk about not being able to seize the moment in terms of, man, you remember when he knocked out Joshua, he was all over the newspaper, tabloids, and everything. And then, of course, we know he looked lackluster in that second fight. And then just from there, I don't know what happened. So this is sort of a, I guess, redemption fight maybe for Andrew Ruiz to show us or the public in the world that, hey, he still got something left there in the tank and he can still be a viable guy, considered a top 10 guy, but we just need to see a bit more. And of course, we know Jarrell Miller, he's one of these guys that, of course, has had some crazy situations in his career, popping gun tests and all of that stuff. Been in with some good opponents, as you can see. He was stopped by Daniel Dubois. You would say that Andrew Ruiz is the better boxer, no doubt about it. But that being said, Jarrell Miller is likely going to come in heavier than Andrew Ruiz. And we'll see how Ruiz handles that. And ultimately, I don't know how this fight is going to go, to be honest with you. But I'm thinking maybe it's a decision. But we'll see who has the larger gas tank at the end of the day there. But I would think Andrew Ruiz, especially if he's looking to kind of rekindle that flame he once had. But, as they say, time doesn't stop, especially as you get older here in this sport.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic, that, isn't it? Like, Jarrell Miller's, he obviously had his suspension and his troubles, but he's come back and he's been, pretty active. And then Ruiz, who got to the very top and has just become, so inactive of late.
Yeah.
How's he going to look? Yeah, that's just a really interesting.
Very interesting concept. I'm going to lean Andrew Ruiz, but realistically, it's just going to be a matter of how. There's no way of knowing really how Ruiz is going to look coming into this contest, just given the inactivity. So we'll see for sure.
You know what? Just to make it interesting, I'm going to go Miller. Miller stoppage. All right, and then there's just one more fight on there that I wanted to mention, because it looks like a pretty good matchup records-wise. We've got Stephen Nelson 19-0.
Stephen Nelson.
And then
Nelson. I need to see Rodriguez. Nelson, he's come out as Show Enough, who was from you had to know him from the Bruce Leroy movie. I forget what is the movie called? I can't think. But that's over here. It's a cult classic over here. Jim. So, but yeah, so Steven Nelson, solid guy. I think he's a little bit on the older end as far as relative to the amount of fights that he had, and kind of when he
36 years old, not quite.
He's still looking for that big opportunity. You know, maybe title contention could be down the line. You know, if he gets one of these. Well, we know Canelo. I think he just vacated the IBF or something. I believe there's the title he vacated. So maybe Nelson can work his way into something of that nature. He's a decent fighter, I would say. As far as the opponent, Marcos Rodriguez out of Mexico here. Eric Robles. So he's only fought in Mexico. So hard to know. We'll find out. You know what I'm saying? Because usually, it's a toss-up when you have some of the guys coming out of Mexico, especially undefeated and such, because some of them end up being world beaters. Then for others, you know, it's just like another notch under the belt. So we'll see there with Steven Nelson. But he's a guy who, he's going to need to be a bit more expedient if he's expecting to get anywhere there towards the title. So we'll see though, but I can't say with 100% certainty based on what I've seen that he's at that level.
Yep. All right, that'll conclude that one. That was a lot.
Very good card. If there were pay-per-views worth paying for, then certainly that is one.